The official first mock draft is here. I had to rush to get all three of these prospects before the NFL Combine. I just asked Brentley how many prospects has he watched, and he's into the hundreds with that. But for some context, Brentley and I met at the Chargers. I was an intern at the time on the marketing department. Brentley was over there actually on the pro football operations side of it. Very jealous. Brentley and I bonded over lunches and stuff, but he has a lot of scouting background here. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to ask him like very detailed questions. If you want to get into scouting or just curious about that, you can fast forward to the end. We're going to go back and forth here with this mock draft, and he's going to be grilling me about the selections that I made that he doesn't think is right. So with that, Brentley, you also have some ties with the Raiders. It's going to be Fernando Mendoza for me. It's going to happen there. So I guess my question to you would be, how do you see Fernando Mendoza versus the other first overall picks we've seen over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Fernando Mendoza guy. I mean, I got a chance to watch him beat my Ducks twice. And in both of those games, you see him elevate his play in those gotta-have-it moments. And that to me is something I really value when I'm evaluating quarterbacks, is when the best is required, do they step up? And time again, you see Mendoza hit those back shoulder throws, use his legs to pick up yards on the ground on the 3rd and 8s. He's just a winning player. And, the Raiders, it's not the best situation for a young quarterback to go into, but I do think they have enough so Mendoza can be successful out the gate. I think his talent very clearly warrants a number 1 overall pick selection. I don't quite think he's Caleb Williams or even Jaden Daniels or Drake May. For me personally, I would have had him graded higher than like a CJ Stroud. That's kind of where I think he sits, maybe below the 2024 class, but kind of just above like a CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. So this is a surefire number 1 overall pick, and I think he's going to be a franchise quarterback for next 10 years.
I see it the exact same way. He doesn't have the same explosiveness as May, Caleb, Jaden Daniels. I think that he's right there with CJ Stroud, who I really liked, ahead of Caleb, ahead of Cam Ward. There's no questions about it. He's the first overall pick in this draft for a reason. There's one study that was out there from Sports Info Solutions, and they said the biggest predictive measure going from college to the pros is intermediate throws. So what I did between 5 yards and 20 yards, his on target rate, which is basically how accurate you are, was at 78%, which is off the charts good. Off the charts good. He can rip really, really deep sideline throws as well. He doesn't do it a ton, but he can scramble a little bit of the quarterback draw. We saw that in the Natty. He had a crazy one against UCLA as well. So he's not super dynamic, but I would not be surprised if he ended up being a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the NFL, even if he's never going to hit the Mahomes, Josh Allen tier. Guess what? You don't have to do that. We just watched Sam Darnold win the Super Bowl. So Raiders fans should be really excited.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, my confidence is like Joe Burrow light. I'm not quite ready to say he's Joe Burrow, because I think Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the league. But that's who his skill set reminds me of. Just pinpoint accuracy, a better athlete than you think, and then it just has the clutch gene. And I don't like saying that because it's hard to quantify. But when I see it, I see it. And with Mendoza, I think he has.
My last note on my written report, top 40 over on Underdog Network, there are some similarities to Joe Burrow and Matt Ryan, which is interesting because those two guys don't exactly play like each other, but I see the same similarities, kind of spreading the ball around and stuff that Joe Burrow possessed in college. All right. Second up, the New York Jets. They got team needs everywhere, obviously. I went with Arvell Reese. I labeled him as a linebacker. I'll get into why. But Brent, let's start with Arvell Reese, the prospect himself, linebacker or edge rusher, or kind of hybrid between it. How do you see Arvell Reese?
I see him as an edge. I do. I think I know you can maybe differ from that, but I do think he's going to be best utilized as an edge, getting after the quarterback. He has a really unique blend of just raw, explosive power, and then that really loose athlete, really excellent lateral agility, short area quickness. He's going to put a lot of these offensive tackles in really tough situations because he's so quick off the ball, so powerful, and can bend the edge. And so he wasn't asked to get after the quarterback a ton at Ohio State. To your point, he was predominantly an off-ball linebacker. But when you project his skill set and, if he's really going to be a top 5 pick, I do think that you'll get the most value out of him, sticking him at edge and letting him wreak havoc out to the quarterback, similar to like a Micah Parsons. No, I don't think Orville Reese is as dynamic as Micah was coming out. I don't think he's not. I don't think it's quite like that. I'm not even quite sure. I think he's the best edge rusher in this class, but I do think, for me, if I'm taking him at 2, I am going to let him rush the passer. And
so I think what Brentley just shared there is the consensus opinion. I think most people are labeling him as an edge rusher. Yeah. I'm kind of taking the contrarian side of this, where I just want him as an off-ball backer, because the way that NFL linebackers are played nowadays is like they're getting walked up to the line of scrimmage anyway, either like just right in the A gap, we see that, and then they drop back or rush the passer, or as just kind of like a 5th down lineman off the edge over there as well, where you can kind of see some of the pass rushing stuff. I say him side to side, like weaving in and out of traffic against the run, fantastic. Yeah. Chasing after screens and stuff in the flat. His mirroring skills is fantastic. So I would just be like, let's try to make him the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL. I think that he has that type of upside there. So for the Jets, they're going to be going to, I think, maybe a 3-4 system a little bit more nowadays, because the defensive line coach, they already have like 2 kind of like speed rushers on the outside. Would you add Arvell Reese to the mix, or would you go with one of the bigger guys, a Reuben Bain? David Bailey's kind of a repeat of the type of guys that they have. So I was like, hey, why not just Jets off-ball linebacker Arvell Reese? So we'll see about that.
It is a miserable spot because they need a quarterback, clearly. There's no one even remotely close to being good enough to draft at 2. And, the next best options are the pass rushers. Yep. But I can't sit here and say that's the biggest need. And so it's like tough, and they're probably going to be forced to take a, David Bailey or an Arvell Reese, but.
Yeah, and they already have a bunch of picks. Like, I think that they would listen to trade down offers, but I'm not sure if anyone else is like rushing to get over the 2nd overall pick as well. So I like Arvell Reese the best. I think that he has a chance to be one of the best off-ball linebackers in the NFL. And I would just kind of accept it in a fairly like kind of weak class. All right, number 3, Arizona Cardinals. I went with the right tackle, Spencer Fano. He's pretty low on the Daniel Jeremiah rankings. Some people think he's a guard. I think that he's definitely a right tackle in the league. Big combine coming up for him. There's like arm length concerns and whatnot. I saw a really fluid mover out in space. I think that he'd be really fit really well with LaFleur, and the Cardinals don't have any right tackles. So maybe a little bit of a reach. I don't see him as the same tier as even like the Kelvin Banks of last class. He's not going to be Tristan Wirfs or anything like that. But like you said, same thing with the Jets. Kind of a tough spot where I do think the right tackle is the biggest need on the roster among the prospects that are going to go somewhere in the top 5 or 10.
Yeah, I like Spencer Fano. To your point, I think he's really athletic, really good feet, excellent in pass protection. I like the way he's able to slide and mirror and do things like that. Obviously, Utah, you don't see a lot of those reps, but when there are on tape, I do like what I see. I do think personally the Miami kid is probably more for me. Francis Mawad Noah. I don't want to pronounce his last name, but I like his profile a little bit better than Fano's. I think he's more powerful. I know there's some potential talk about him going to guard and things like that, but I do think he has maybe a higher upside.
The fluidity to stay out there on an island. So, but if he goes to guard, I think he would kick ass. And guess what? The Cardinals probably could use interior linemen as well. I think Spencer Fano, if I had to guess, all right, in 5 years from now, who's actually staying at guard or at tackle, I think that Fano is going to stay out there. And I think Mawanoa, that's more of a toss-up. So that's how I kind of broke that tie. The Titans pick, I thought was actually really straightforward. Robert Saleh, they just need an outside edge rusher. The Titans don't have one on the roster right now. So this one's pretty easy. David Bailey, it's the exact same system pretty much that they're going to run with the Titans out there. So I think he's a top 5 overall pick. What's your expectations for David Bailey?
I mean, God, I love David Bailey. So I loved him when he was at Stanford. Like, you just kind of saw some of the things he did, more of an off-ball linebacker at Stanford, but you see the explosiveness, you see the athleticism, you see the ability to just really, like, he's like a basketball player, the way he's able to like kind of cross over offensive tackles. You can't touch him. Like, you cannot get your hands on him because he's so quick, he's so elusive, he's so able to bend the corner. He's just a really natural pass rusher. And then for the Titans, I do love this pick, Hayden, because when you think of Robert Saleh and kind of the defensive ends he'd like to deploy, the D Fords of the world, he drafted in New York, Jermaine Johnson, like these kind of speedy rushers off the edge, fits his defense to a T. And I think, I mean, here at 4, like, I mean, this is a no-brainer. I love David Bailey.
By the way, freaks list wise, David Bailey was on there, squatted 550, hit 22 miles per hour, could bench press 400 pounds. By the way, he's only 245, 250 pounds out there. No gloves. We got to get some gloves on him. It's the worst aesthetic I've ever seen. It's throwing me off. All right, number 5, the New York Giants. They've got a lot of team needs kind of all over the place. So this was actually one of the more difficult selections that I had. They can go potentially Caleb Downs if they think he's the best player available. I went with Sonny Styles, the linebacker here. They got a lot of work to do at linebacker. It can be Carnell Tate at receiver. They can go with one of the offensive linemen depending on what they do in free agency. Sonny Styles, off-ball linebacker, super fast. He's going to be competing at the combine. I think he's going to absolutely light it up.
No, I love Sonny Styles. I did see that report. He's going to be competing at the combine. He might run a low 4.4. Like I think we got to get ready for him to run a low 4.4. His position workout is going to be picturesque. I mean, like it's going to, he's definitely, you know, this time next week, it's all going to be Sonny Styles hype, and it's going to be justified. He's an excellent athlete. He's fluid. You know, he's a former safety. Like he can do everything you want a modern day linebacker to do. He reminds me of Darius Leonard. If you remember the Indianapolis Colts linebacker, that kind of type of athlete in the middle of your defense, like great. I do think, you know, for me, if I was the Giants, I probably wouldn't go here though, just for me personally. Again, like I think he's worthy enough player to be drafted this high, but for me, I'd probably lean more to, you know, a Carnell Tate. I love the idea of kind of pairing that level of explosiveness with Malik Neighbors. I love the idea of, oh, dang it. Let me see.
Yeah, the only phone in America that still rings like that.
So I'm at my parents' house here, and they still have a landline, so I apologize for that.
All right, number 6, the Cleveland Browns. They don't have any offensive linemen. So this one was also pretty easy. If Francis Malinois is still available at 6 overall, he kind of really fits them. He can start at right tackle. If he fails, then you can go kick him inside to guard. Guess what? They don't have a guard either. So you can experiment him while nothing matters this next upcoming season, and then long-term find his best spot out there. So Francis Malinois, guard, tackle. Guess what? The Browns need both.
Yeah, no, that's an easy one for me. I mean, you know, you could also justify a receiver here potentially, but I do think the trenches like that makes a lot of sense. The Browns, you know, they just need help everywhere. And so the thing I like about Malinois is he was a highly ranked elite 5-star recruit, comes into Miami, starts day 1. And for 3 straight years he started. And that to me just speaks to his level of overall raw talent and then the consistency.
I think he's going to be a guard, but if he hits at right tackle, I will have him ranked too low. All right, we're going to get a little spicy here. I like the trade ups. By the way, if you're doing a mock draft before free agency, nothing matters. So we'll include one trade up here just for fun. The Washington Commanders don't have 2nd or 4th round picks. They also have a million holes. So I do think they are one of the teams that could be looking to trade down. Which team is attached to every trade up known to man after the draft has concluded? That's the Rams, who have a 2nd first round pick. So I do think that these two guys could be calling once another, maybe on a landline like at your folks' place. Rams, Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs is so smart. The instincts are there. It's exactly what McVay is looking for. If Cam Curl leaves for free agency, man, they needed so much secondary help. Caleb Downs makes a million tackles, super smart. I know that McVay and Les Snead are going to like Caleb Downs. It's just a matter of like, can they actually move up to get him? Because he will not be there in the early teens.
No, he won't. I mean, he could realistically go off as early as, you know, 5 to the Giants, to your point. But I love Caleb Downs, and this would be such a Les Snead, Sean McVay type of pick. Like, he is such a Ram kind of player where, you know, we all know he's good. Everyone kind of sits back and waits for the Rams to make their move. And then the Rams have him, and then he's going to be an all-pro, and then the Rams just continue to win. Like, we've seen that happen time and time again. I think Caleb Downs, with that, in that defense, with those kind of young pieces they already have in place, like, that would just take this unit to a complete another level. Because I'd say they disappointed me kind of towards that back end of the year. The defense really let the team down, and specifically the secondary. And I think with Caleb Downs having that versatility, having that just kind of instinctual presence back there would be a home run. I mean, I love that pick. I love that fit.
I mean, he like still like sitting there like a 5th overall, man. Like
Yeah.
he just like he makes every tackle. He's always around the ball. He's not as like physically dominant as like the Derwin James types is out there, but everything else is like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And like he's just a can't miss prospect.
Yeah, no, and then like speaking about the combine, I think people underestimate his speed. Like I think he's fast. Like I think he's gonna come out and test really, really well. Yeah, and like he lacks the length and some of the overall like height and size of a Derwin or Kyle Hamilton. But like I kind of get the sense where people think he's like not a top tier athlete and is more of the kind of the instinctual type of player.
All right, moving on, getting back to without the trades here, the Saints are picking 8th overall. I'm going to go Mekhi Lemon as the wide receiver 1. I think that for my rankings, most field rankings, it is Cardinal Tate. I think stylistically, Lemon matches up with Chris Olave. Chris Olave stretches the field. Mekhi Lemon's down there in the slot, more of a physical player over the middle. And just looking at the history of Kellen Moore, CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, then both of the guys with the Eagles, and then even last year moving Chris Olave into the slot a little bit, Rashid Shaheed into the slot a little bit. There's a big history with Kellen Moore with this like type of player. So I just think that stylistically, these two guys would make a lot of sense for Tyler Shuck going into year 2.
Yeah, no, and then especially at this kind of part of the draft, and like this is kind of going to be a theme. You know, there's not many sure thing players, you know, kind of outside of this top 7 or so group. Mekhi Lemon for me is certainly in that threshold. Like I know what I'm getting. I know he's just going to be a highly competitive, highly productive slot receiver who I think can do a little more outside than given credit for, honestly. But I'm a huge Mekhi Lemon fan. I love the fit here with the Saints. You have Chris Olave, you have Tyler Shuck, who I thought was borderline outstanding down the stretch of the season, giving him a reliable chain moving target who can work inside and out.
The Chiefs are so desperate for somebody that's, one, like not in the courtroom every single week, and 2, is not like some like Mickey Mouse wide receiver that weighs 170 pounds. Like, give me the DeAndre Hopkins profile, but make him a 21-year-old. You know, like we need this for Patrick Mahomes to actually stretch the field, win in the red area as well. So Cardinal Tate out of Ohio State, he's awesome, man. So if he gets here to 9, I don't think the Chiefs would pass him up. It makes too much sense.
Yeah, that's I was a little about to say. I don't think he gets here realistically. I do. I think most teams will value Cardinal Tate as wide receiver 1, and I think there's enough wide receiver needy teams ahead of the Chiefs that are probably going to swoop him. But if this were to happen, this would be, like, you know, Mahomes needs this. Mahomes' receiver group is an abysmal. I mean, Rashid Rice when he's not arrested is fun. I like him. He's a good player. But like having a profile like this who can truly win vertically, he can run a full route tree, he catches through traffic.
I think it's harder to find this kind of do everything X receiver like that has speed. But you also talked about like some of the contested catch stuff, like big like post routes down the field, just like jumping over everybody and stuff. So he's not like T. Higgins and stuff like that size. I think he's George Pickens, which if you can get George Pickens with that's not like not year 1 George Pickens. I'm talking like the year 3, year 4 George Pickens. That would be awesome with Patrick Mahomes. That's who I think Cardinal Tate reminds me of.
That's a really good comp. I mean, I definitely have not been a fan of the T. Higgins comp because I think Cardinal Tate has a little more juice.
Another one that would be a great fit, Ruben Bain going to the Bengals at 10th overall here. I really appreciate Ruben Bain's tape. His production speaks for himself. The Bengals' lack of pass rush speaks for itself as well. So I don't know where Ruben Bain's going to go. I can see him going 2nd overall. I also can see him falling even a little bit beyond this because some of like the most plugged in analysts are saying that some teams think that he might be a defensive tackle. I thought he was way too bendy off the edge to call him a defensive tackle personally. Where do you stand on the Ruben Bain debate?
Yeah, I mean, he made me like eat a lot of crow because I actually did not like him coming into the season. I probably saw him a little more similarly to the people that think he's a defensive tackle. You know, I did not have him graded high in comparison to kind of what the hype was around. And then, you know, I think they played, what was it, Clemson week 1, right? And you just saw him take over that game and very clearly, that wasn't Clemson. I forget who they played Notre Dame. And very clearly Miami, like I just thought Ruben Bain was that dude. Like his ability to corner, his bull rush is just outstanding. And then he plays with the relentless motor that really like is contagious for a defense. And to me, that's something the Bengals.
He is what we thought he was. Like, you could, if you want to grade his 5 best plays, sure. What about the others?
They have no alphas. Like Shamar Stewart last year. I mean, yeah, like I saw the traits. Like, I get it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And he always lacked that dog. Like, he never like instilled passion when I watched him play. Ruben Bain is the exact opposite of the spectrum. And I think adding that level of character and just mental toughness to this defense would go a long way. The Bengals have needed a pass rusher, feels like, for the past 10 years.
If the current measurements are true, he's going to have bottom first percentile arm length. Bottom first. Like, there's a chance that I have longer arms than Ruben Bain. It's not exactly what you want, but I will say, you mentioned it, his ability to turn the corner, he's so physically strong that the tackles cannot push him around. So when you watch like that loop drill at the combine, think about it. In the real life, an offensive tackle is trying to push you off the spot. Ruben Bain is his core is so strong. He's like got this like really cool center of gravity to him. You can't really push him around the corner. So he makes a lot of his sacks are actually around the corner, which you would not expect for somebody that's like 6'3", 275. So very unique. I think he's too good. He's my 4th overall prospect. There's a chance that he falls just because of the arm length, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's combine week. The arm length is going to get scrutinized. It's going to be inevitable. But I would just say to everyone, remember that feeling when you watched him take over games in the playoff.
Yeah. Next player really good as well. Dolphins pick 11th overall. Vega Ione, the left guard for Penn State. Really interesting player. Very powerful, like built like the guard that you're kind of picturing in your head. As a side hustle, Penn State would like line him up at fullback and tight end to like be a lead blocker and just like, I mean, absolutely rip people's heads off. Yeah. So if they think that he's gifted enough to do that, we'll see if he tests at the combine. I think that he's going to pass a bunch of those thresholds. He was just like so dense as a pass protector. It's like hard to get around him. He's not like some freak athlete. So he's probably like one tier down from like the top guard prospects out there. But I feel really good about his floor. Plug and play. He's going to get paid a bunch of money long term. And I think one of the safest players in the draft.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's been a lot of talk where he's kind of scheme dependent, meaning he may not have the foot quickness or the kind of just spatial awareness to excel in a zone-based scheme. I'm not quite sure if that's true. I think he probably a better mover than given credit for currently. But yeah, really sturdy, really powerful, wide body, really does well to protecting his edges. Plays like a physical temperament, just a mauler, really good hands, grip strength. He sustain blocks really well in the run game. Dolphins need toughness. Like they are lacking severely in the toughness department.
And if you're a team that's going to be finding their future franchise quarterback, probably not this year, but in the future, here's a good way to set him up. You have Patrick Paul at left tackle. Aaron Brewer's fantastic signed long-term at center. You got Ione as one of them. Austin Jackson at right tackle. And then your second round pick from the last draft, kind of very up and down season, but was a highly ranked prospect now going into the second year. That would be your starting 5 offensive linemen. That'd be a pretty good setup for the next franchise quarterback. Most likely going to be one of these Arch Manning types after a pretty bad season for the Dolphins this upcoming year. Not a bad way to kind of just like build out the roster long term. Dallas Cowboys pick 12th overall. They need cornerback help right now. Mansour Delane, the top corner in the draft, according to most, including myself, out of LSU. He might have a kind of an interesting combine. He's not like necessarily like a size speed freak out there, which is kind of interesting because like most corners are that. So he's not going to be the top end corners in the NFL. I do think that he can be good enough to shadow, really physical, always in phase, like a really calm presence at corner. And guess what? Calm presence at corner. The Dallas Cowboys have not had that in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think this is probably our biggest disagreement so far, just for 2 reasons. I could not pass up Jeremiah Love at this point.
All right.
Me personally, I think he's very clearly a top 3 player in this class for me. So this is where I'd have to take him. But if I were to go corner, I also think Jamar McCoy is CB1 for me personally. I know that the ACL is what it is. He didn't play last year, but his 2024 tape to me is the best defensive back tape minus Caleb Downs in the class. I thought he was outstanding. Instincts, length, ball skills, true playmaker outside at corner. And that's I value playmaking when it comes to corners. I've always had, like, the ability to take the ball away. To me, is a separating factor between Mansour Delane and Jamar McCoy. I don't think it's a huge kind of separation, but I would lean Jamar McCoy personally over Mansour Delane.
Yeah, I think it's the pairing makes the most sense. I think I'm with you on Delane's tape where I was viewing him like before turning on the tape is I was expecting somebody that was going to like be a surefire top 10 pick, like a really really awesome mover. He's not that. Yeah, he's just not that
Yeah.
type of athlete. And he's not like overwhelmingly big either. I thought that he like had like a lot of fight to him and he seemed like very much in control, but I think I see him the same way as you. He was ended up being my 15th
Like a
overall
proper
player.
LSU
And
corner.
I had
Yeah.
McCoy right next to him. If we get good news out of the combine, because he tore his ACL a really long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's going to test now or at his pro day, but he should be ready to go this season. Like he didn't tear this thing in December. This was an off-season workouts pretty much a year ago. So
Yeah.
he should be able to test and hopefully gets good news out of the combine because I do think there's going to be some buzz for McCoy actually being cornerback
Yeah.
one after the combine because I think those two guys kind of their peaks are going to come in their valleys come after the combine for sure.
Gonna be
Okay,
wild.
Commanders fell down to 13th. This is where I stopped the Jeremiah Love fall.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Jeremiah Love's going to fall this far. In fact, the Commanders, if they stood at 7th overall and drafted Jeremiah Love, would I be shocked? I really
1000%
wouldn't.
agree with that.
His explosiveness tied with Jaden Daniels would just be a lot of fun here. So while I do think that they are a trade down candidate just because of the amount of holes that they have and the lack of draft picks that they have, I do think that Jeremiah Love somewhere in the top 12 makes a lot of sense, and that even could be the Commanders at 7th overall.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think this will probably would be his absolute floor. But yeah, I love the fit. I love the player. Personally, I love Jeremiah Love. I think his contact balance, his vision, his pure explosiveness, he's able to kind of hit a crease and go the distance. Like that to me is something I really value in running backs. Like I love Breece Hall for that exact reason. Jeremiah Love, like he's a hard player to comp because he has a kind of a weird body type, super leggy, not necessarily bulky and strong, but like he runs physical. I see maybe a tick less explosive version of Jamal Charles.
Going to be exceptional. I'm going to have him ranked this much higher than Ashton Genty, which is like hard to like even comp those two guys together because they play so differently. But man, like the best running backs in the league right now, they're just like running the 40 faster than everybody else because like you have to kind of like split safeties and stuff to rip off the big plays. And if you're not running 4.38, 4.45, which Jeremiah Live's absolutely good if he's going to run the 40, it's hard to get to that like total baller category out there. And I do think that Jeremiah Love like might actually reach that.
What you just said is like what shaped my view when I scout running backs. You need to be a home run hitter. If you're not a home run hitter, I honestly don't want to draft you in the top 2 rounds. Like I remember the debate between Travis Etienne and was it not Najee Harris? Yeah, like for me it was like, what are we talking about? Etienne is a 4.3 guy, Najee Harris is a 4.5 guy. Like one, because this is what I'll say. When I'm scouting in the league and we're doing advanced scouting reports on the pro side, when we're scouting the future opponent, I always want the player that's going to scare my defensive coordinator the most.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love's awesome. If he goes to the Commanders, that would make sense. I think like just looking at the mock draft so far, the Cardinals at 3 overall, I don't think it's the most likely. Like, could I in theory see it? I can see it. Same thing with the not the Browns because they already have 2 guys, but the Commanders at 7, the Saints at 8, the Chiefs at 9. I don't think the Bengals would necessarily do it. It depends on who's available. And then the Cowboys did sign Javonte, so he's either going to go like top 8, top 9, or someone's going to like trade up for him. Just looking at like who's going to be available, but he's worthy of someone that's going to get drafted this high. It's kind of like what Jahmyr Gibbs was, who was like the 12th overall pick, whatever it was. And I think that stylistically, those two guys share a lot in common. All right, moving on. The Baltimore Ravens. I mean, every single mock draft, I feel like I've done this for the last five or so years. It's just like, all right, what edge rusher or defensive tackle is available? I give them Akeem Mesidor, the other edge rusher out of Miami. Interesting story. He came to the United States weighing under 200 pounds as a freshman. He's been around for a long time. Now he's 25 years old. He's not 195 pounds anymore. He's probably like close to like 260. Really, just like physical player. There's more wow moments than people are giving him credit for. Like I think there's like a little bit of like an awesome like athlete kind of buried in there as well. So we'll get the official testing this week, but the Baltimore Ravens, they can use another more powerful edge rusher than what they have on the roster.
Yeah, this would probably. I love the player. I think from a team fit perspective, I don't know if he's quite like in the mold of what a Raven looks like. They always like the really, really long, kind of long arm, lengthy edge rushers, right? Like the Daffy Owens of the world. Like that's kind of been more their speed. However, Akeem Messidor, man, like just from a tape perspective, you could have put him like in the top 6. Like he was just outstanding this fall. I mean, his spin move, his counters, like his pass rush nuance is off the charts. He's a good run defender. He plays his just ass off. Like I love Akeem Messidor. Now, obviously, what's he, 25? I mean, 24, 25, like not ideal. But I'm a huge fan of this player. And I do think like kind of right around this range, like 14 to 18 is probably where you'll see him come off. All
these guys have warts. I got to pick which way you're going to go. You're going to visit the dermatologist and you're going to try to erase some of the warts of these guys. And, I think I would just rather bet on the traits and the production that Messidor had than some of the other guys in the class. Tampa Bay Buccaneers pick 15th. A lot of the same situation with the Baltimore Ravens. They're always looking at the defensive line, especially like Todd Bowles. If this is going to be his last year, I think he's going to go down swinging. They lose Logan Hall here. They lose Hassan Reddick. Neither of those guys really panned out. It was just 100%. Not acceptable what they 100%. Had on the defensive line. So I'll give them Keldrick Falk. Maybe like the Michael Williams of this class. I don't think he's quite the same athlete as Michael Williams was, but Keldrick Falk, not a ton of production, but also not given the same exact kind of reps that you would get from like just like a pure outside rusher. Kind of have to line inside the tackle for a lot of his reps out there. So he's not going to get the same production as some of the other guys. That said, he's only 20 years old. So what do you see out of Keldrick Falk? Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, is there a difference between the scouting department and then when the coaches kind of get involved, where like a coach is like, hey, trust me, bro, like X's and O's wise, like this guy's unlocking everybody else. And then the scouting department's like, well, like, look, there's a different type of athlete that we're trying to get after here.
It's one of like the biggest like frictions in all of sports is when the coaches get involved, because the coaches don't watch college football or, scout until right around the Senior Bowl. So they'll get a list of players at their position to watch, and they'll come in with their grades. And then the position coaches just get in these heated battles with the area scouts who've been scouting these players for over for minimum 18 months, sometimes 3 years. And then the position coach will have a month, 2 weeks worth of exposure, comes in and like is screaming bloody murder. There's cuss fights. Like it's dirty out there sometimes, but oftentimes the coach, they view it as, what can this player do for me like tomorrow in my exact scheme? What role will he play for me tomorrow? Whereas a scout, you're always trying to look, what can he be down the road? You try to kind of do team building 3 to 5 years out. So that's where a lot of kind of the tensions come in. But Keldrick Falk, he's a player like a defensive coordinator is going to love. The length, the raw power, the ability to be, inside and out, play multiple roles. Like coaches are going to love that because they're going to have a role specifically for him. Us on the personnel side, I love the traits, but like he's not really that explosive.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of production. And, he's kind of just a big, long, kind of awkward athlete. And that to me on the personnel side, I wouldn't value him. I think with the Buccaneers, with Todd Bowles, if he's ever going to reach quote unquote his ceiling, I would love that pairing. I love the idea of Bowles getting his hands on this kid because he does have length, he does have power. And so if this guy was going to succeed in the NFL, would be playing for a coach like Todd Bowles.
In my notes for Keldrick Falk, I wrote, I can't tell how elite of an athlete he is on tape because of how he was used. So I think among players on who has the most to prove at the combine, I'll put Keldrick Falk up there because he didn't have the production of somebody that's going to go in the top 15, top 20. If he absolutely crushes the combine, then he will solidify himself there. But if he doesn't test like that, and then we have some of the issues that you're talking about, he could be someone that slides a little bit further than this. Like big eyes for Keldrick Falk at the NFL Combine. I got some big eyes on Caleb Banks because he is, I mean, just ginormous. So Jets pick 16.
Yeah.
Overall, he's not Quinnen Williams, but there is that Quinnen Williams void that the Jets have here. Caleb Banks, 6'6", 330. If you guys want to have some fun, just turn on Kelvin Banks against LSU in 2024 and just have yourself a party, man. I mean, that guy was out of control that game. Now, I said 2024, he broke his foot. He did not declare after that year. So there's like definitely some like question marks of the Caleb Banks profile, but he had a good Senior Bowl, according to a lot of people that were down there. So we'll see, kind of a boom bust prospect right now. How do you see Caleb Banks?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Caleb Banks. Like his high end tape is as good of any player in this class. His ability to disrupt the integrity of the pocket. He wins so quick when he wins, like off the ball. It's like, holy crap, you can't even touch him, when he's really going. I wish he finished a little better. So I think he gets a lot of pressure, but he had trouble kind of actually getting the quarterback on the ground. I think his stats would be pretty eye-opening if he finished even 10% more of the time. But he's long, he's quick, he's explosive. I think he's halfway. He's not bad against the run. I think he's definitely better pass rusher than run defender. But I'm a huge Caleb Banks fan. I think me and you probably see them a lot more similarly than other draft media out there. I think, again, when you compare it to the other types of talent in this class, I have a hard time not pushing Banks up my rankings, because when it's on, it's very clearly Pro Bowl caliber kind of talent. And when I'm drafting in the top half of the first round, that's the kind of athlete I want. I want that kind of player. And, Banks, there's some consistency issues, and, that we'll have to kind of figure out down the road. But I think his talent, his upside is certainly worthy of this high level of a selection.
Yeah, he's my defensive tackle one, just like my personal rankings out there. If you look at the top 5 defensive tackles, like in terms of like the pass rushing stuff, what do they look like? They look like him, So is that something that like the scouting department, just like teams actively do? Like who's winning in the league today, and then kind of like using that as kind of like the thing, that the North Star that we're going after? Or is that just something that like media people say that actually doesn't happen on the team side?
Get off the ball and long arm the tackle into the quarterback and collapse the pocket. Like, I mean, his 2024 tape obviously was outstanding. You saw the speed, you saw the bend, you saw the burst. I think he had double-digit sacks. Like, he was phenomenal. Not that strong of a year last year, but I think Clemson's overall defense took a step back. It wasn't
they were
just
a weird
TJ
team.
Parker. Yeah, they were. And like, it wasn't just TJ Parker, and I feel like he's getting unfairly scrutinized because of that unit as a whole. But when you watch his film, actually, the drop-off wasn't that dramatic. And I still like a lot of what I saw from the offseason, the length, the power, the speed. I think he's a very instinctual player. Like, I think he's really, really good at football IQ. I think he diagnoses the play really fast. And I think he has really good pursuit in the run, kind of chasing plays backside. Like, I have no questions about his football character, his motor. I think it's all in there. And I'm been a little surprised to see the lack of buzz and kind of excitement around TJ Parker. But I definitely think he's a good player, and one that is gonna, for me, project pretty easily to the NFL. I think he has a clear, defined role. And for the Lions, I mean, that defensive system fits him to a T. And lining him in next to Aiden Hutchinson, to me, will give him kind of two proper booking defensive ends that are good against the run and pass.
Yeah, you just like described a Dan Campbell player to me. So just like the more you talked about it, I'm like, all right, I might just like have this one locked in for the long term. Vikings, they signed Brian Flores to the biggest defensive coordinator contract ever. So why don't you just give the keys to Brian Flores and let him pick? This is where I have Jermon McCoy, the corner out of Tennessee. Assuming the medicals come back, I think that he's going to be a top 20-ish pick. And I do think there's some upside where he can even get, could he be the 12th overall pick? Could he be the 10th overall pick? I think it's certainly possible out there too. So we'll get some medicals and more questions answered later this week. But really awesome athlete. And I think that Vikings can use some like long-term talent at corner right now.
Yeah, no, this would be, for me, I mean, obviously a massive steal at this point in the first round. I think Jermon McCoy He has the upside to me to be like a top 6 corner in the NFL. I think his ability to take the ball away, be physical at the catch point. I think he's a good tackler. I think he stays in phase, good change of direction to mirror routes, super instinctual player to read route combinations. Like he has it all, honestly. Like there's very few weaknesses to his game. Maybe some questions to see like what his true high-end speed is. I don't know if he's actually like a 4.3 guy, but he has the length, the size, the playmaking ability. If his knee's healthy, like this would be a home run pick. This would be a steal for the Vikings.
Yeah, I thought his like just like stop, turn, like explosion skills were really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So I thought he was pretty aggressive and sometimes got beat. But you know, that's the life as a corner. Like, do not teach your kids to grow up as corners. Like it's like the most impossible job in the world. I do not know how they even do it.
And everyone kind of like was, you know, he got torched by Jeremiah Smith, but like, okay, who hasn't? You know, like if that's what we're grading corners on, then like why even draft corners at that point? You know?
Yep. Yeah, I had the Jeremiah Smith notes in my thing, but yeah, it's a very, very solid point out there.
Yeah.
Panthers at 19th overall. I struggled with this one. I went with Monroe Freeling, the tackle out of Georgia. I wanted to push him up because he's going this high, man. Like I have him as my 12th overall player. I haven't seen anyone rank him quite that high. I might be a little bit too aggressive, but man, he's a great athlete. He's super long. Like give me another couple years. And like, this is what, like going back to the report, if you all those like blue chip guys on your board at left tackle, what do they look like? They mostly look at like Monroe Freeling. So obviously the Panthers have a big decision. Ike Ekwonu busted up his knee late in the season. He's playing on his 5th-year contract. Do they want to just move on with Monroe Freeling? Possibly. I just wanted to make sure he was inside my top 20. No,
I think that this is a smart move. I mean, I watched him about 2 weeks ago and I was extremely impressed. Like the athleticism, the foot coordination, the ability to mirror in pass protection. He is so smooth in his sets. He's outstanding getting into space on the run game. I think he's going to be very clearly a player this week. We're going to be hyping up through the roof after the combine. He's going to run. He's going to test. He's going to be so smooth working those positional drills. And we're just like searching for players to kind of elevate themselves, especially in a draft class that's kind of lacking high-end talent. He's, to me, going to be a huge riser coming out of the combine. I think, you know, like this point of the draft, 100%. I could see him going earlier, to your point. I could see him going kind of early teens, depending on kind of how he tests, which I think is going to be outstanding this week in Indianapolis. I think he's going to be a player whose stock is very much on the rise here in the coming days.
I thought most of his bad reps were actually just kind of like mental reps. Like he didn't like pick up some blitzers, and like some of the stunts gave him some trouble and stuff. Like very rarely by the end of the season was he ever like losing a one-on-one rep because of anything physical. Like to me, it's just kind of the mental game, and he's like not that experienced. Like I'll take that, and like hopefully that will improve as his career unfolds. But yeah, I see it the same way. He's going top 20. And I think there's a chance he even goes top 10.
I just think he needs to get a little stronger for me. But you could do that, and you know certainly you just can't coach what he has physically, and his ability to handle speed on the outside. That's what you want. Like you want a left tackle who, when they're facing some of these speed rushers, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter's off the edge, but they're not going to be, you know, pissing down their pants because they can't get out there in space. Like Monroe Freeling can. Like he has that kind of juice and coordination to get out there. So I think for me, he's probably the most upside out of all the tackles in this class. If he hits his ceiling, he could be a Pro Bowl kind of player.
Totally agreed there. This is where the Cowboys are for their second pick, 20th overall. I'm giving them a safety. There's kind of a debate for who's safety too. We'll get the Oregon kid in a second. But out of Toledo, Emmanuel McNeil Warren out there. The Cowboys have not had like a really quality safety in a couple of years now. He would be awesome. Donovan Wilson is a free agent right now. Someone that kind of like rolls into the box at the snap. It kind of just like picks things up. He's not going to be like a deep safety, in my opinion. I think he's going to rack up a bunch of tackles out there. I'm not even sure if he's like some like monster one-on-one man coverage guy, but just someone that's going to make a lot of plays, more of like the playmaker type of safety out there. Not a top 10 guy, but I do think he will go round.
Yeah, I struggle with this player. I think he's probably best near the line of scrimmage. Like I think that's where you kind of saw him make a lot of plays in the run game. You saw the instincts. He's a physical tackler. He's aggressive.
He really
Like, I
is.
love all that. I just don't know what kind of athlete he is. I don't know if he's overly explosive. I don't know in terms of, being able to be a single high defender. What kind of range does he has? Like, those are questions I need answered. He's certainly not, Nick Emanware or like anything like that. So I don't want that to be confused. I feel like I've kind of been hearing some of that. I don't see that level of athlete on film, but I do like him as a player. He was productive. I think he's going to have a role, certainly, especially down in the box. I like him. He's probably my safety 3. I think I do have Dylan Heineman over him, but it's not by a wide margin by any means. And I think, this is a player who, again, is very physical, very good instincts, but I just have maybe a few athletic limitations I wouldn't mind kind of seeing how he tests.
Yeah, I'm 31st overall, my safety 3 as well. And exactly what your notes were exactly where I'm at with him as well. I can see Thieneman going to the Cowboys at 20th overall. That would be an interesting fit. All right. A lot of you guys are fantasy football heads. Jordan Tyson, this is where I have him to the Steelers at 21st overall, wide receiver 3 coming off the board. Kind of like a gesture maxer when you're talking about like his route running chops. You know what I mean? Like he's like, reminds me of Jerry Jeudy in that sense. The toughness kind of comes and goes with him, but ability to run the full route tree, just the ability to go up and high point some passes. He can do all of that. Very fluid athlete out there. So someone like, I'm not sure if I see the upside comps that some people are throwing out there, but I do think that he's going to be a round 1 guy. He'd be a great stylistic fit next to DK Metcalf, who cannot move laterally like the way that Jordan
I agree. I struggle between Tyson and Mekhi Lemon. I think Tyson, I feel like he can probably hold up better outside than Mekhi Lemon. I think Tyson's a really smooth separator, outstanding ball skills. I mean, his hands are phenomenal. I think he's good after the catch. I think he can win vertically. For me, like, I just wish he was a little more physical at the catch point at times. And that leaves a little for me. And then I also don't know how truly fast he is as a legit take the top off type of receiver. I don't know if he has that second gear, like really to stretch defenses down the field, but I think he's a natural playmaker. I think he, again, is just phenomenal playing the football and making those kind of acrobatic catches. His body control's outstanding to me. He's like, where I think he would be, where he could win is like how Garrett Wilson wins. Like that's kind of like that stylistic receiver that I kind of see that. I just don't know if he's running a 4.3 like Garrett Wilson. That exactly.
He's not running like Garrett Wilson. That's the difference of going top 10 and being the 21st overall pick. Like I see it. They're on the same plane. It's just like there's different.
Exactly. But for the Steelers, DK, like I think he's very clearly better than anyone else they have. And he'd be able to get open, separate all 3 levels of the field, be reliable, catching the ball, good after the catch. Like for me, like this point in the draft, Jordan Tyson, home run, like definitely worthy of this pick.
All right. This team better than pretty much anybody. The Los Angeles Chargers are picking 22nd overall. Yeah. I gave them Lee Hunter, defensive tackle out of Texas Tech, total monster, just like big old belly. His nickname's the Fridge, nose tackle. And then I watch him and he could really rush the passer too. Like his like nimbleness is just like off the chart. So I had probably more fun watching his tape and being surprised because he was like low on the consensus rankings going there. I'm like, all right, nose tackle, like, all right, cool, stop the run, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, no, he's like actually moving, chasing some guys down. Really fun player there. So I'm not sure if he's going to go this high. Maybe I just like actually fell in love with him watching the tape. But the Chargers can definitely use somebody like him.
No, I mean, Lee Hunter to me is like one of my favorite players in the class. Oregon played against Texas Tech. No player in that game was as good as Lee Hunter. I mean, it was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. He was manhandling our center, who's not a bad player at all. He'll be drafted next year. And his range in the run game, like for a player that size, he's making plays down the sideline, chasing the ball carrier. Like he is a phenomenal athlete at his size. I think he has more pass rushing chops than given credit for. For me, like, if and when the betting lines come out for the draft, like I'm hammering Lee Hunter first round, like whatever that is, like he's for sure going to be a first round player to me. Like you don't see players that size move as well as he does. Strong, athletic, like massive, can just control gaps. I love Ely Hunter. He's total Harbaugh kind of player. They need help stopping the run. Like this would be such a talented player inside of that defense, especially in this point of the draft. Like Lee Hunter to me he's one of my probably top 5 like personal favorite players in the class. Like I love him.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, he's the best. Harbaugh would love him. Just because you scouted for the Chargers, is there any other potential fits that you can see the Chargers going with this draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think if any way Vega, I don't know how to pronounce his name. If he fell,
if he's there, that's an
if
automatic.
He could fall. Automatic. I mean, like borderline trade up for him, honestly, because their interior offensive line is so bad. Getting a player like that would be an absolute home run. I mean, obviously that'd be massive. Secondary corner, I think, would be in play here as well. In Avion Terrell as a player, I think Harbaugh would freaking love the feistiness, the kind of physicality, the kind of just the competitiveness to kind of want to be on the island. I think he would be a fit for the Chargers.
I thought the scouting the Chargers real quick for like team needs. Their defense is good. They can also upgrade like every position. Like there's not like absolute crazy level talent everywhere. Obviously you have your Derwin Jameses and like Henley had like some really quality moments for the last couple of years, but there's not like a position group where I'm like, you can't draft that position group. It's like corner, you can upgrade those guys, edge rusher, defense tackle, like anything is kind of up for grabs for the defense, even though they've been a highly ranked defense over the last few years.
I mean, like they don't have a ton of stars on that side of the ball. Like I think that's like a credit to Jesse Minter, honestly, as well. And like Harbaugh's overall like physical ethos, But in terms of raw and talent, like, I think you can get CJ Allen, a linebacker would make sense here. Kind of put him in the middle of their defense. I think, defensive tackle to your point, pass rusher for sure. For me at this point, I think Daniel Jeremiah had Kenyon Sadiq. Get him in there to pair with Aranda Gadsden. Like that would be interesting. Yeah. There's a ton of different ways they could go, which is really, kind of funny when you consider they were one of the better teams in the league last year and they kind of got a lot of holes, so crazy. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Jesse Mentor's the truth is like pretty much our long explanation for that. All right, Eagles 23rd overall. I'm giving them the right tackle out of Arizona State, Max Ionkor, whatever it is. He is awesome. Obviously, this has Lane Johnson in mind. Lane Johnson said he's going to come back this next year, but it's probably be his last year. And you never know. Like any moment you can say, you know what, I am actually done here. So he'd be the long-term replacement at right tackle. And I also think that just body-wise, like could he not play right guard for them this year? Like I absolutely think that you can put him at right guard for the season, then eventually have him kick out to the tackle. So really interesting player. Did not start playing football until college, and here he is in the first.
Yeah, and then like Howie like will never shy away from drafting a year early, and kind of stashing it. Like he did that with Landon Dickerson. Like he did that with Juergens, right? Like Juergens. Like, that's kind of his own thing, especially on the offensive line. So I like this pick. He had a really good Senior Bowl. I need to go back and do more work on him. I didn't have him like super high ahead of Mobile. Then I think after Mobile, everyone's kind of moving him up. I need to go back and watch a few more of his games, but he's raw. He's a good athlete, inexperienced. His best ball's probably ahead of him. And we know again, like how he loves those kind of long-term projects where if they think there's something in there, they're not afraid of investing and trying to get that out of him. So I think this is totally like a Howie type of pick.
Yeah, unfortunately, whatever tackle they're going to have, they're not going to have the offensive line coach coming.
That's rough.
Just quit because the vibes are weird. The vibes are weird in Philly right now. Everyone knows that. Cleveland Browns picked 24th. Earlier on, I had them with Francis Malinois, who's their right tackle. So how about finding a left tackle here, Caleb Lomu out of Utah? Could he add some weight and stay as athletic as he currently is kind of like the thread that you have to kind of needle here. So that's where I'm at with him. The Browns obviously need a bunch.
Yeah, I'm a Lomu fan. I love his just overall athletic profile. Really smooth athlete, really good in space, can mirror and do all those things, slide and kind of kick out. Love all of his movement skills. Just not as powerful as I would like. Doesn't get a ton of movement off the ball, which is surprising coming from Utah. You'd think they would have kind of prioritize more physicality out of their tackles, but if he can gain strength, sustain a little more down the field in the run game, I think Lamo could be a high upside left tackle, especially in this point of the draft. But I think other names like Blake Miller out of Clemson, I think that would be a tough one for me. That's a good debate right there. But I don't mind this pick, especially for the Browns who need offensive tackle help. Like that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I thought his worst reps reminded me of the bad Will Campbell reps, where you're kind of vertical setting and you have enough power to like immediately anchor before you've been pushed into the quarterback. Like I think that's kind of the thing that you have to debate with him. But you have to draft your tackles early on in round 1 to like for sure get a good guy, and then you're kind of like throwing some darts late in round 1. So you have to live with some of the warts, but that's fine for the Browns. The Bears, this is another trick one. I gave him Caden Proctor left tackle there. Their left tackle situations like completely in flux. Like Ozzie Trapilo was playing well, then he busted up his knee. Braxton Jones, who was benched, he's a free agent. The Theo Benedict guy was a undrafted free agent coming out of nowhere. So I think left tackle is like on the list. Obviously, they definitely need a defensive lineman and some, they can use another corner or they can use a linebacker at this point. They don't have either of their safeties under contract. So most likely this will be defense, but I think Caden Proctor is an interesting debate. How about just Proctor himself? He's another big guy. Combine, could we get into the 360s, 350s would be really nice. Nothing in the 4s.
I like Proctor more than most. I'm willing to bet on his upside. Like this is a player for me. It's like, there's a risk. Is he gonna be able to manage his weight? How athletic of a mover is he? Is he a guard? I mean, like there's a lot of questions, but his like top reps at tackle are as good or
they're
if
hilarious.
not as better than anyone in the class, right? Like I think he has that kind of upside. He's a Bama player. Like his overall pedigree is something I'm willing to bet on. And I would not be shocked, Hayden, after this week, if he tests, weighs in relatively well, we're gonna hear his name start creeping up the boards again. Like
what does that number need to be on the scale? He needs to show up at what weight for him to get some top 10? I mean,
360s, 350s would be ideal,
Yeah. If you're like 358, that's like perfect to me. Somewhere over there. I fear it's like 376.
That would be admittedly a tough weigh-in, because the last thing you need is a player like that, getting all this money and then all of a sudden he's going to be 400 pounds come week 1. It's like,
especially if he goes to the Chicago Bears, man, he's going to get some deep dish pizza. It's over.
If he goes to the South, like, forget about it. And so, I mean,
he needs to go to the Chargers, like play him at guard at the Chargers, and he's on acai bowls until he's in the 340s.
No, but I'm a big fan of Proctor. I think he's like a really easy name to see. We'll start kind of moving up the boards here in a few weeks.
Okay, interesting. All right, Buffalo Bills sort by wide receivers who's best available. Right now, it's Denzel Boston, who in consensus rankings, this would be a surprise if he fell this far. I can see people having split opinions on Denzel Boston. The prospect, he's exactly what they need, though, like a big physical X receiver who can win in the intermediate game reliably. It's like 3rd and 8, who you're going to throw the ball to. It would be Denzel Boston. So I don't see like some like crazy vertical guy. But I do think it's like intermediate part of the field, like red zone, like that type of area. I do think that Denzel Boston to me is a pretty easy valuation, a late first round type to me.
Yeah, I love Denzel Boston. I think, for me, if he runs 4.4s, like he might go above Tyson. Like honestly, like his ability to win in contested situations, I think he's a really good route runner. Like he has nuance to his routes. He's smooth. He's fluid. Gets out of breaks. But for me, like it's his physicality. His physicality at the catch point. He breaks tackles. Dude, he returns punts for touchdowns. Like at that size, like
it's insane.
He's really good playmaker. I'm a little surprised at the lack of Denzel Boston love. Like honestly, for me, like he's, in my opinion, closer to the big 3 than he's not. Like he probably deserves to be talked about in that same tier. And if he runs low 4.4s, like, I mean, this is like, he has no real holes at that point then. And I think, going to the Buffalo Bills, he would give them what they were hoping Keon Coleman would. And I admittedly, I like Keon Coleman coming out. Like I was higher on him than most. Hasn't worked out for a lot of reasons, but Denzel Boston to me would be even like that much more better of an athlete than Keon Coleman. But he would give them kind of what they were looking for, kind of that big body ball winner, a red zone threat, chain mover. But this guy actually has the juice to make plays down the field.
Yeah, if he runs in the 4-4s, he's not going this late. So big week for Denzel Boston out there, keeping it moving. 49ers, Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson, got some like top 5, top 10 love. I don't think he has the length necessarily. His production was all not that great. Just kind of could split gaps, like a really like explosive guy, pound for pound strong, but like not that many pounds for the position. So he's got to test like a good athlete, you know, for me to like believe that he's like a real first round player. I do think that there's a chance he kind of slips, but on the flip side, there's a lot of people who have really high grades.
Yeah, Peter Woods to me is like a player. I'm not quite sure what people are missing. I understand that, you know, this year wasn't as consistent as last year, but to me, like his body control and his ability to get to corner in tight spaces for a defensive tackle is really special. His power is outstanding. I think he's a good athlete. He's been highly productive in his time at Clemson. I just don't know how you can go from being considered, people had him Hayden as the best player in the class entering the season, and to now people are having him super kind of late first round, even mid second round. I'm willing to bet on his level of talent. I think for me at this point in the draft, like this is a steal. I think Peter Woods is a player we're all going to look back on in 3 years and wonder why he got out of the top 12. Like I think that highly of Peter Woods. He's a really dynamic athlete. Again, power, bend. I wish he was maybe a little longer, but for me, like I love his skill set. I love the player. He's probably my like most conviction where I might differ from the consensus is Peter Woods.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I think that like if it turns out it's like how Ed Oliver was, where you know it's like super explosive. Now we'll see if like Peter Woods is actually what Ed Oliver did at the combine, who had a 36-inch vertical, but both like not crazy long player, but their best moments were definitely kind of jumping off the film. Just the whole big picture with Peter Woods, I think is where the debate is. To keep it moving, Texans are on the clock. Obviously, I'm not going to not select an offensive lineman. This is where I have Blake Miller, the right tackle out of Clemson. Right tackle is an interesting spot because they do have Titus Howard, who like could play right tackle, but they've like put him as a guard. They drafted Blake Fisher, who can play right tackle, but they've like just like not used him at all. So I'm guessing it's just like we need another tackle. So Blake Miller is one of the right tackles that are going to be available in this range.
Yeah, Blake Miller, really good athlete, really smooth mover. He's physical, he's tough, he's dependable.
He's got some nasty.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's
kind of an asshole.
He plays with some temperament that you really like, you know, and when you're playing on the line of scrimmage, you gotta have something in your neck, is what the scouts used to say. Gotta be a little crazy, and so I like the way he plays the game. Very, very physical. But I think he's a really good mover in space, and so I think at this point in the drafts, drafting a right tackle for the Texans to me, no brainer. I think Blake Miller's also a player, depending on how he tests. We could see him also rise up the boards. I do think he's going to surprise some people with his athleticism.
Yeah, if he does, like he checks a lot of boxes. He has the most snaps in Clemson history with almost 4,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ready to go. All right, another fun pick for the Rams. So I had them trading up for Caleb Downs at 29th overall. The Rams select Casey Concepcion. I'm not going to lie. I went through these guys the first time and I was like, I like Casey Concepcion. I went back and watched the guys a second time before finalizing it. And I'm like, I think I really like Casey Concepcion. He is obviously extremely fast. Watch the punt returns, but you can watch the downfield stuff. Yes, there are some drops, but I thought for somebody of his size, he's got a lot of toughness. And I think that his route running is the mature, good route running that some of the other players in this draft class are flashier route runners. But I think that Casey Concepcion is always moving where he wants to go, and he's not doing with a bunch of BS stuff. So I have a really aggressive ranking on Casey Concepcion. Matt Harmon, who does the wide receiver profiles at Reception Perception, he's been tweeting out things that make me believe that he's also going to be really high on him. So he's going to fly in the 40-yard dash. Him as like the third guy for this year for the Rams would make sense. Then when Devontae Adams leaves, I think him and Puka offer completely different skill sets.
I struggle with Casey's Concepcion. Like I see a lot of the same things you see. Don't get me wrong. I love the burst. I love the explosiveness. I love the downfield stuff. It's awesome. I mean, it's definitely best in the class. Like it's a differentiating trait that he has compared to all the other receivers in this year's draft. Like I know what I'm getting from that POV. I just don't think he's a natural catcher of the football. And his drops are
He's not. He drops the ball.
He drops the ball a lot, but
not,
even like the catches he makes, it's like he's fighting it at times.
Yeah.
He lets it into his body. Like,
okay.
Is he McCole Hardman? Is my fear, and that's I don't know. Like, I don't think he is, but that gives me a little pause because from a playmaking ability, and I agree with you. I think he's tough. I think he runs good routes. I think he's instinctive. Like he's much more than just a one-trick speed type of like Xavier Worthy kind of player. I don't think he's that. I think he's more nuanced. I think he's more well-rounded than that. I just don't know if he can be a high-volume target in the NFL when he may not actually be a natural catcher of the football. Yeah. For the Rams, I love the fit. Because he could be, in that kind of the slot with Puka and Devontae Adams, and he could take the top off the defense and really stretch the field vertically. Like, love the fit. I like the player. Wish he caught the ball a little better, but
so do I. For the record, I wish he caught the ball better too.
But I see what you're saying. I do think him getting kind of labeled in that Xavier Worthy mold is probably a bit unfair. I think he's much more well-rounded and nuanced than a Worthy kind of comparison.
Yeah, I see it. You can just see like the difference in opinions here. Like that's like what I'm reading from other people. Like there's a wide range of like Casey Concepcion grades out there, and there should be because like I agree he doesn't catch the ball, which is a big problem for wide receivers. But to me, if drops are kind of that's a volatile stat year to year. And I know the rest of it's really good, then it's like, okay, if we can figure out catching the football part of this, we can like really start to party here. So we'll see. He's gonna be a big player. There's not like much that he can really change because he's gonna crush the combine if he runs, and that's already factored in there. And you can't prove that you're gonna catch the ball in February. So I think there's gonna be a lot of split opinions on him, and there probably should be.
Yeah, I will say I agree, but also to disagree a little bit. I do think if he runs extremely fast, he can help himself. I mean, like Xavier Worthy, like we didn't know that was coming, and that very clearly got him into round one. If Casey Concepcion comes out here and runs a 4.28, like I think he's gonna move up the boards a little bit.
I remember that Les Snead clip before Xavier Worthy was going on the field to run his 40. He told his wife, he's like, he's gonna be the fastest one ever, or he's the fastest player ever. And then obviously Les Snead just absolutely nailed that. So he sensed the speed of these wide receivers. I can see that it'd be really, really fun. A couple Oregon Ducks are up next. Brentley went to Oregon. Oregon just been kicking USC's ass in every single sport right now. I'm not gonna lie, but Broncos on the board, 30th overall. Kenyon Sadiq, the first tight end, definitely going to be the only tight end that goes round one, in my opinion. Very interesting opinions kind of all across the board. Like no one has like a really good feel of exactly what the hell Kenyon Sadiq is. You've watched more Oregon football than anybody. Give us the player profile here.
Yeah, obviously biased, but I love Kenyon Sadiq. Just an overall playmaker. You could use him a lot of different ways. He ran a ton of different routes. A lot of what this offense was this year. Because you got to remember, Oregon lost Tez Johnson, lost Troy Franklin. He and Evan Stewart to injury. So Sadiq entered the season as Oregon's number one pass catcher. So skimming him open and getting him the ball was a key to the offense. And then when we did that, you kind of saw his athleticism take over. He was breaking tackles, making defenders miss. You can get him out of the flat on screens, and he can take it the distance. Like, he's an overall weapon. Now, I will like to see him run more traditional routes from kind of the hand on the dirt Y, or even kind of on detached as an F. You don't see him run a ton of traditional routes. He did more of that last year, actually, as our kind of tight end number 2. But I think he's capable of doing that. I don't think he's a finished product by any means. but very rarely do you see a tight end with this level of athleticism, explosiveness, power. His hands, I think, are good, not great. He makes some crazy acrobatic catches,
Yep.
just insane ball skills. You see him elevate over defenders and high point the football, but then he'll drop an easy 10-yard out.
He'll drop the easy one.
That is concerning a little bit, but in terms of upside, this kid is sky's the limit. Sky's the limit here, and then this late in the first round. I mean, you want to bet on the traits. And then, as a run blocker, there's a lot of discourse of past week on social media. Yeah, he's not Gronk, but he's aggressive. He's competitive. Like, he gets after it. Like, he blocks his ass off. Yes, he's not going to move defensive ends, routinely, but he's not a liability as a run blocker. Like, he's not just a passing down tight end. You could play him all 3 downs, and I think you can survive. And so I love the player. I love the fit. I think certainly the Broncos wanted more out of Evan Ingram last year. That didn't necessarily work. Getting Kenyon Sadiq, who I think can also help the team more early downs in the run game compared to Evan Ingram, will help this offense. So I love the player, love the pick. I think at this point in the draft, like, I would run the name to the podium.
He's just a perfect fit for Sean Payton because his speed on the runaway routes, leak routes, wheel routes, all like the manufactured Joker stuff, like that's what Sean Payton wants. And that's where Kenyon Sadiq's at his best. Like, straight line explosiveness is the calling card for Kenyon Sadiq. Pound for pound strength in the run game, I would call that actually like a strength for him, especially when he's climbing to the second level. There's a lot of like nasty where he's like throwing guys to the ground, throwing them out of bounds, kind of like bouncer type, throw them out the club at the second level. And I think that he can survive and at least compete like on regular like base blocks as well. So the weird part about Sadiq is, for a receiving guy, there's not like a lot of like settling into zone coverage and just like understanding of like just like a regular kind of like beating zone coverage. A lot of his production was not that, which is just like interesting for someone that's labeled like a receiving guy. And then I thought he had more fight as a run blocker, so I see him differently than like what the scouting reports and the tweets that you mentioned that I'm seeing out there. It's a really weird prospect. I'm as a late round 1 guy, not like some crazy stud out there, but I just think that the opinions on him are so split, and like trying to get to the bottom of it is just like a fascinating player.
I mean, I think it's the interesting conversation this week after the combine is going to be telling, because he should
go crazy.
He's very clearly going to go crazy. He's going to test ridiculously. He's going to jump out the gym. I think he was number 1 on Bruce Feldman's freaks list, like back-to-back years. Like, we're talking about an elite athlete, He's going to test crazy. Then I'm wondering,
by the way, freaks for Kenyon Sadiq for a freaks list, for the Kenyon Sadiq freaks list, that's a vertical jump of 41.5 inches, power clean 365, bench press 435.
Yeah.
And this is like as a 240-pound player.
Yeah, no, it's going to be ridiculous. And so like, I'm wondering, because like in the season when he was kind of cooking, people had Sadiq in the top 10. And now, you know, kind of, he had a bad kind of end of the year. That maybe not necessarily all his fault. Will Stein, offensive coordinator, didn't really do many favors. You see him slipping a little bit. He's getting drafted here, picked 30th to the Broncos. Like, I'm wondering if after the combine we see the narrative start shifting a little bit, because a little bounce because I think kind of out of sight, out of mind a little bit here. Didn't do the Senior Bowl. I think after the combine we might start seeing some more positivity around his stock as a prospect. But I think for me, I know what I'm getting, I think, in comparison to a lot of other players in this class. So I would probably have him a little higher than this, but if he makes it this far, this is a home run pick for the Broncos.
Moving on to the Patriots, another Oregon Duck here. It's safety Dylan Tienneman. He is another interesting guy. Was at Purdue, played, like the deep third safety. And then at Oregon, he was more in the box, kind of filter around, like some 3 safety looks where he's in the middle of the field. At either spot, though, the dude made every tackle. His instincts and awareness, both in his like physicality against and the run game, all stand out to me. He's, to me, like one of the cleanest evals out there. He's not a crazy athlete, but he's a good one. And he doesn't have the craziest size, but he's got enough size to make most tackles out there. Just constantly around the ball. I think that he can survive in the deep post, but I do think that like in the modern NFL, quarters coverage, rotating down, that's exactly kind of what he was doing at Oregon. So like, I think a really fun player. Tell me more about the Oregon.
Yeah, no, love Dylan Thanaman. Like Oregon didn't know how to use him for the first month of the season, and then by necessity, because our linebackers were so bad, like overall, we needed a player like this to be down in the box and be another force player. And you mentioned it, like outstanding instincts, outstanding tackler, takes ridiculously consistent angles, and then just overall just always has a nose for the football. In coverage, you see him compete against receivers in the slot. He has athleticism and the fluidity to kind of change direction and break on the football. Like he stays in phase. It's really hard to separate against him, because he's so smooth and he's such a good short area quickness. Like he's really strong, kind of close and click kind of defender. Just good quickness, and then his ball skills are outstanding. He's a true playmaker. The ball's in the air and he can make a play on it. He's making a play on the football. You saw that in Purdue. You saw that at Oregon. He turns over the football, and you want that in the safety. And so I think both phases of the game, he's just a high-level player. And yeah, he's not that top-end, elite-level athlete like a Nick Emanwari or Derwin James, but he's going to be able to excel in his role, be above average in everything. Literally everything.
Yes.
And I also think there's playmaking upside because he's so freaking instinctual and has such good ball skills.
Yep.
I think he's going to get the hands on the football quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, to me, he's going to be a 12-year starter and make a few Pro Bowls, and he's going to be one of the best draft picks overall in this class. 100%.
He's going round one. Dylan Thanaman's going round one. Like I think, he's my 24th overall player. He's climbing up the consensus rankings. There's like Daniel Jeremiah's moving him up and stuff. He's like an automatic. You watch all these guys talk about this player has warts, this player's got warts. He's just he's right up there. Just like no warts. Just like a really, really strong player across the board. You can't draft in the top 15 or anything like that. It's a safety, but late round one, a lot of these teams do need safeties. Like the quality of the position, just like not that crazy right now. Very valuable position, headsy player. So it's really good Oregon Duck. My favorite of the two.
And there's a drop off after the first three safeties. So if you want one, you definitely want to get one of these three in the first round.
Last one for us, Seattle Seahawks. I'm giving them the corner Colton Hood. They have a couple pending corners and free agency. If those guys return, obviously it's not a need, but in this mock draft, didn't want to make sure Colton Hood gets selected. I thought he was like another one of these guys, like checks the boxes, like big enough, fast enough. I just think that he's going to look the part at the combine. And then I just think that his tape was like pretty hands-on too. Like both, like that's like not like pun intended there, like a very handsy player, but I think for the most part, like in a good way.
Yeah, no, physical press man corner, just loves to get it in your face, turn and run, can look at the football. Really aggressive tackler and run support. Like you see him just destroy people in the flat. So I like him as a player. The Senior Bowl wasn't his best showing. You wish he, stayed in phase a little more. You wish he saw a little more fluidity, kind of at the top of the route, breaking on in breakers and things like that. He showed a little stiffness, I thought, in his lower body. In transitions, I think that kind of showed up. But between him and Avion Terrell, I think that's a debate. I think that they're kind of in that tier. I would probably lean Terrell, but Colton Hood's fit with the Seahawks probably makes a little more sense. Kind of that physical press man kind of corner, get up in your grill, physical tackler. Like he would fit that unit better. But I think, right around this range, kind of late 1, early 2s is a good tier for both those players.
So the players I did not have in the round 1 mock draft that I think can go, Cassius Howell, he's 23rd in consensus rankings. He's going to have really short arms. And like, he's probably gonna be under 250 pounds. Like, it's kind of like one of those things where you have to be a real baller. And he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. So he has a chance, but maybe the length matters. Avion Terrell, you talked about him, just undersized guy, might be a nickel. So we'll see how many nickel corners go in round 1. Kind of hard to do. CJ Allen, linebacker, 28th in consensus. He's a good player. I don't think that Ty Simpson's going to go round 1 personally.
But he could.
Yeah, he in theory could. Caden McDonald, Ohio State defensive tackle, just a complete baller, just a complete stud. But
yeah, that's the one player I would probably try to find a way in there.
Yes.
I would be pretty confident he's going to go round one. Like he's a better player than Tariq Williams or last year from Ohio State, who went to Detroit. I want to say, like McDonald's a better player than that, and it's kind of let that late, kind of pick 28ish. Like, you just want that kind of player who's a run defender, like, and that athleticism that I think is in his body. Like, I'm a big Caden McDonald fan.
Yeah, when I was watching, like, this guy goes round one. Like, they're just like he's just
sure.
He's on 2 down. He's just so good, man. I mean, he's unbelievable. Yeah, so he would be the guy that I regret not putting out there. In round one. Then it's like Brandon Cisse, the other corner for South Carolina. Zion Young, I haven't watched him yet, and then there's some other guys out there. But obviously, these are like the core players that are going to go round one. These guys after the combine will move them up and down. Brentley, that was awesome. We're gonna have to get you back on later on just to go for like maybe top 100 players or whatnot.
Yeah.
But make sure you have the social handles posted. We use for Brentley. Tell us where we can find the rest of your stuff. Hopefully you keep appearing on more podcasts. You're great at it.
Yeah, no, I'm currently just doing some stuff on Twitter. So follow me at Brentley12 on X, and we'll be having a lot of videos coming out shortly on my Twitter account, and then definitely posting my rankings, my mock drafts, all of that will be on my Twitter. But yeah, man, let's do this again sometime soon. This was a blast.
Dope. All right, cool. Josh Norris, if you guys have heard of Josh Norris, he's back on the channel tomorrow. Lots of news. GMs, head coaches are on the podiums at the combine. We'll be reacting to that. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, reactions to the actual NFL combine measurements and who stands out. Daniel Jeremiah has some good notes out there. So lots of good stuff coming out of the combine this week. Every single day of the week, we will have a new show. They will probably be as long as this one is. So like, subscribe, do all that type of stuff. Buy the products that we're shilling out there for you guys. We pick the right ones for you guys. So Underdog Fantasy, let's get out of here. See you later.